Mett Farms, LLC.
Okay, and your address?
3022 Lakeview Street. Lakeview is one word. Milford, Iowa, 51351.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the parcel we're about to talk about, Dickinson County, we call it parcel H-DI-058. How do you refer to the parcel?
We call that our Two Bend Farm.
Two Bend?
Two Bend Farm.
Okay. Thank you. Can you describe the current use and any potential future use of the property?
Yes. We rent this farm to my grandson-in-law and his wife, my granddaughter, and they pay cash rent for it. It's a variable rent.
And right now, is it corn, soybean rotation, or is there anything else?
Yes, corn and soybeans.
Okay, thank you.
We use a minimum till on it.
Okay.
As best we can. We do our fertilizers according to recommendations. We try and keep the pH up on it at around close to 7. And we started adding sulfur because anymore the cars do not give us sulfur.
The what does not provide sulfur?
The cars and truck motors are burning different fuel than they used to. And it used to be we didn't have to put sulfur on our crops.
Gotcha. Okay. Can you provide us with a general description of the property?
Yes, it's very rolling. We have not owned it a long time, probably less than 5-6 years. When we bought it, it is pretty well tiled, but we could never get a soil map, so we have no soil maps with tile listed in them. But we have done a minimum of tiling, and so we found some of the tile.
So can you give us an idea on the map of where the tile is? You can just describe it if that's easier.
I can describe it best by looking at the dark spots up there and the lighter spots. Most of the lighter spots have a tile running through them. The pipeline will start from the jog you see there on the bottom, and it cuts through an area that we have we call it a spring, but the spring only runs when we've got a lot of topsoil moisture. Then it dries up. It's ideal for not having a CO2 pipeline in.
So that spring is where the pipeline would enter the property in the southeast corner?
No, it would go just a little higher than that to that light, in that light area.
Oh, okay.
It's in that general area.
So just north of it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And the northeast corner of that farm, the light area up there, is a little lower, and it must be tiled because big rain will go away in a couple days.
Okay, it looks like there's a structure or formation of lighter pattern down on the south side of that parcel. that collects in the middle, kind of forms almost a Y or a fork.
That is, let's see if I can get this thing to work.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. We have an area that we had declared a wetland, and it's right in this area, somewhere in there.
Okay. So that lighter colored, maybe green, extending up through that, that's a waterway.
There's no, yet, not really a waterway, no.
Okay. But it's a wet area?
It's wetter, yeah.
Okay. And then the two areas that collect just north of it, what are those?
I was a little wrong there, I think, on that. I think right in there is about our wetland, right there. It should drain to the south, but I don't think there's any drainage in there, any tile or anything. So I have no idea what the policy of the FSA, or rather the soil conservation people, would have with Summit and you going through wetlands. I have no idea.
Okay. Can we scroll to the northern side of that property? Okay. On the north there, there's a curvy line entering on the west side of the property in the middle. And it meets that larger portion of the northern third. What's that structure?
That's a draw, just a lower part. And some of it, there is the lighter part right next to the line there, that's grass in the waterway. Yeah.
So you don't till that portion. That's
from there on down. Above that, we till all that.
Okay, but that does collect water when it rains, or is there always water?
No, it always runs away. It's got enough slope. It always runs away.
And that slopes from the west to the east, or
correct.
west, east, northeast?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No buildings or other structures?
Two bends. It's a two-bend farm. They're down on the southwest corner.
Okay. Can we scroll down a little bit?
There you go. That's where they are. And right in the corner, we've got a driveway on the corner. Mm-hmm. The bends are right there.
Gotcha. All right. We talked about drainage tile. Any other underground installations, telecommunication, water lines, gas lines?
Not that I know of.
Any other easements from third parties?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It would be odd because I counted one day on my property and I had I got to 17 easements that I have on properties, and I could count.
But none of those easements are on this property.
Not that I know of.
All right. And
there was an airstrip on it at one time.
Where was the airstrip?
It ran from right there and came out into this. It was a half section at that time.
Okay.
Ended up right in there.
Okay. Timber or forest?
No, just rocks.
All right. Are there any other features that might not be readily apparent based on the map that you could explain to us?
Yes. The last gentleman that was here described very well this farm itself. It is really rolling, very rocky. Between you and I, we could dig a with a spade, and you might dig up 6 little rocks and one big one right by that first screen in front of you there. You might dig up fine soil. I might dig here and get black dirt. It varies so much because the old glacier came in about 10,000 or more years ago and dumped it there. It just quit. And that area to the east of us, to the west, towards Spirit Lake, levels out more. But to the east and northeast, it is all hills and valleys, like pasture. So this is a very rolling piece of land.
Can you describe any specific concerns you may have and any recommendation you may have for the board to address those concerns?
I didn't quite get the last 2 words.
As it relates to potentially a potential easement across the across the parcel, do you have concerns that would need to be addressed?
Well, of course, in looking at CO2 pipelines, and I've studied them, trying to find out what CO2 pipelines that have failed, that have blown up. I've checked with them, but I'm not able to find out the diameter or the slope or the pressure that was on those lines when they broke. I've been concerned with CO2. I think it is so dangerous that I don't believe anything but straight line in one kind of soil should be put in. I don't believe that it's safe for anything.
Thank you. Do you have any recommended alternative routes should the permit be granted?
Yes, I do. I have a very good one. And that is, you're coming across US Highway 71, at the bottom there, where that comes straight across, and then you go north. Just move that, go north right down the ditch, and go straight north all the way to Minnesota.
Okay, so not cross Highway 71.
Yeah, I wouldn't care, but you'd have better luck if you crossed it and put it on my side there in the ditch. There's no reason in the world. The government lets you go across the road. Why can't they let you go straight up the ditch all the way? It's a wide ditch.
So you would prefer it in the public right of way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You go across gravel roads, you go across everything. Why can't we go straight north? It would please me very much. However, I still object to CO2 pipelines. I don't think they're safe.
Okay, that concludes my questions. Questions from the parties, Ms. Colas and then Mr. Taylor. Ms. Colas is all the way in the back.
Good afternoon, Mr. Metz. I just have a couple of questions. You mentioned that your farm had several wetland or very wet areas. Is that because your farm has a lot of underground springs or moisture, or is it the composition that causes all those wet spots?
It's more the terrain that causes the wet parts. The soil types, if you look at this, if you look at the map of this area, the soil types vary so much, the lines almost bump each other. One day I tried to take a map and color them, so I could see really what's where. I gave up. It's just so many different soil types over that area.
So along the pipeline, you were very concerned with compaction around?
Compaction is one thing, maintaining the depth is another. The thing that I have seen in one pipeline failure was it was going down a hill. And what happened with that, in that case was the dirt under the pipeline, someplace it was a little loose, and the water started running under the CO2 pipeline. And I think it was around 300 feet that it started a little just washing the dirt right away from the pipeline. And then eventually the weight of the pipeline broke down and it broke the pipeline. It failed. That was one type that I've studied. There are others that I have studied too. I have quite a few questions I would like to ask someone about on this one in Mississippi. I particularly wonder what the pressure was, how deep it was, and what they think caused the failure, because that's important. I would like to visit with you in some time here a little bit about what happened 2,000 years ago in Pompeii, Italy. It wouldn't take me long. I'd like to do it if it's possible. It pertains to what we're talking about.
So you have great concern related to those questions in Mississippi. So in your contact with Summit, did you attempt to ask questions of them?
Not really. I attempt to not visit with Summit.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Mett, I'm Wally Taylor. I represent the Sierra Club. And you say this is rolling land. Has it been designated as highly erodible land?
Not really. Most of the slopes are short and not that you would call it highly erodible. That's true.
Okay. But do you undertake any conservation practices or any programs like CRP?
I have on another farm that, not Summit, but the other one at Hartley, they're going through I have 100 acres of flowers in, I guess you call it CRP, yeah.
But on this property we're talking about here,
Yeah.
There's no CRP or any government programs?
No.
Okay.
The only thing is that wetland. I had them declared a wetland a year ago.
Okay. And how many acres is that wetland, do you know?
It's only about 2 acres.
Is it full all the time or is it intermittent?
No, it's not always full. They told me that when I applied for the wetland that if I was to go out there, I would probably go down about that far to blue clay. And then in there, I would find the carcasses of buffalo, deer, and all that stuff, all the bones and stuff is in there. He said it's full of it.
And as I recall, the wetland is that light-colored area in the southeast part of the parcel?
Yes.
Okay, so the pipeline goes right through it?
No.
No, okay.
His pipeline is, actually it's south of that jog where it comes across the road. And,
Okay.
And maybe 30 degrees towards the south road would put you through it.
Okay.
You kind of look at the neighbors south and you get a better idea.
Okay. But would the construction of the pipeline, with the construction easements and all of that imposed on the wetland?
It might be, yeah, what surprised me is they want 40-acre easements. They make their pieces out of 40 acres, and they can do anything they want to on that 40 acres with the easements that you have to sign. So that really surprised me.
Did you talk with any Summit land agent or representative about where the pipeline was on your property and maybe some alternatives?
No, I haven't. They've come to visit me a couple nights about 8 o'clock. And I just told them I just wouldn't allow it if I had any choice.
Okay. You said, I think, that this property is like the property Mr. Schnackenberg was talking about, where the rocks come loose and maybe come up to the surface. Is that correct?
It's very, very true. We go every year and we go out there with flat racks and load rock, put locks on. But with every new year, you got a new crop. Yeah. And they work their way up in the soil.
And is that true where the route of the pipeline would be?
Oh, yes. Most of it, almost all of it.
Okay. Do you know if Summit did any kind of a geohazard survey to see what the geology was there?
Well, they called me one day and said I wanted to come out that afternoon, and I said, what time? And they said, well, what difference does it make? Or, do you want to be there? And I said, no, I want no one to tell the sheriff to be there. And that was last I heard of that.
Yeah. Just to the east of your property, it looks like a building or two there. Or what is that like?
Let me see here. To the east on the south. That's just really rolling land, almost a cliff area in there.
Okay. Do you see what I'm talking about? It's a light-colored square with another light-colored area to the right of it. There. So what is that?
I think that's just very rough. That's not on my property, but
yeah.
I think it's just extremely rough, where the old glacier just dumped it.
Okay, so it's just bare ground. There's not a building there.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any building.
I think I can see that better now that they blew it up. Yeah. So there would be no buildings that would be...
No buildings impacted.
Okay.
On there.
And you said the spring is intermittent. What feeds that spring, do you know?
Would you repeat that?
Sure. You said there was an intermittent spring on your property.
Yeah.
What feeds that spring?
What feeds it?
Yes.
I don't know. It would probably be some wetlands to the east or southeast there that would feed it.
Okay. And would the pipeline impact that spring?
Not as long as it stays intact and don't blow up.
Okay. You said the area was tiled. Do you have any concerns about the tile being damaged?
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Enough so that I don't see it in my notes here, but I would want, if I had if they didn't use eminent domain and we signed it to let them go through, I would demand a 6-inch tile 10 feet away from their tile all the way through the farm. Because we've been talking about pattern tile here this afternoon. Well, I would intend to, sometime my son and I will spend some money on more tile. And we would pattern tile areas. And in order to drain those pattern tile, you have to have them a major tile to go into. So we would have as he showed you those pictures, there was always another tile off the end of the fingers. And that would have to be along the sides of this CO2 pipe.
Yeah.
So we would have to have a lot of tiling done and a lot more that I don't know about repaired, yes.
The tile that's there now, do you know how old it is?
It's old tile. And the fellow that I bought the farm, we bought the farm from, I asked him for some tile maps, and he laughed. He says, that was an old dairy farm years and years ago. And they had a little pasture here, but the rest, they tiled alongside of it. And he said it was such a mess, I never got any tile maps.
Yeah. Do you know how deep it is? You probably don't, do you?
I do know one tile that's about 6 feet deep.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Jorde?
Thank you. Sir, if any surveys did occur on your land, I'm sorry, right over here, sir.
No.
Yeah, if Summit did conduct any surveys on your land, would those have been against your will?
Oh, yes.
All right, and you made it clear to them you didn't want them out there?
I think I did when I asked him one time they were going, and I said, I want to call the sheriff, so he's waiting for you.
Okay. And have they provided you any copies of any surveys of any kind?
No.
Have they expressed to you any reason in writing or in person or via the telephone why they can't run their proposed route parallel to the roadway there from south to north?
No, I have never mentioned that to them.
Okay. We have some information that they claim to have contacted you on 54 different occasions. Do you have any reason to believe if that's true or untrue?
Objection, Your Honor.
State your objection.
Believes, misstates the record. The exhibit is for contacts, including attempts, so it wouldn't necessarily mean that we contacted the landowner that many times. We may have attempted over 24 months to do so.
Okay. Do you know about how many times Summit has actually showed up in your yard in person?
Oh, probably 15, I would guess. You see, we are talking about Summit. What's the one that Summit runs into west? What's the name of that one? It's similar to Summit. I have it written here. But they go through another farm that I own, and that's all the CRP, and that is flowers.
Okay, you're talking about the Navigator pipeline.
Navigator, yes.
Okay, but in terms just focusing on Summit.
Yes.
Yeah, they
I have about that many papers in a box. Some of them are unopened.
So, and you were referencing about 1.5 feet or 2 feet high of paperwork. Is that yes?
Yes.
Is any part of your property involved in the Spirit Lake North Watershed project?
You said water?
Yeah,
Project?
Spirit Lake North Watershed project.
No. The Continental Divide, for a little area, is right on the west side of our farm. So the water west of this farm, way over to the outside of that picture, that goes towards Spirit Lake. The water on the east side goes to the Des Moines River.
Okay.
So this farm goes into the Des Moines River.
Understood. Could we just zoom out a little bit on this, please? Okay. All right. Now, you were talking about some concerns relative to your property and potential ruptures or incidents. Are you aware that the Satarsha, Mississippi pipeline was 24 inches in diameter, which is the same diameter that Summit proposes to build up to on your property?
See that? How many inches?
Up to 24 inches. They're requesting up to permission to build a pipeline up to 24 inches in diameter on your property. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I was trying to find out what the diameter was, the one down in Mississippi. I look at the pictures that you see of it, the blowout. It looks like maybe it's 6 or an 8-inch max, is what it looks like. Now, if they'd had a 12-inch in there, it would have killed out a lot more people than it did. It didn't kill anybody, yeah. That one, I don't think anyone was killed. But I did hear on a video that 3 guys were in a car, and the car stopped, would run through that CO2, and they were in that car quite a while. All 3 of them today are on oxygen all the time.
And you had mentioned some research you had done relative to your concerns about this potential pipeline on your ground in Pompeii, Italy. What was that?
Well, I had the misfortune of being over in Europe, in Italy, one time, and that's been about in 1970, I would guess. And we went to Mount Etna, and it's in Sicily, northern part of Italy. And that is where the volcano blew at Mount Etna. The top blew off of it 2,000 years ago, yes. And it was one of the messiest things that ever happened with a volcano. And first came the poison gas down the side of the mountain. Pompeii was a city on the bottom of that mountain. And all this gas came down there, and everyone was dead within seconds because of the heat and the gas. And they froze in their spot. They didn't get to move. And it'd be the same thing, almost the same thing as a CO2 blast. Anyway, they were all killed. And today, where these people were, it looks like a stump. And so they decided to do a little more exploring about the results of that blast. And they opened up these little mountains. And they found that these people, when they were killed, instantly, they didn't change their features one bit. And they were covered with an ash and some moisture, and it was like putting them in a cement cast. So there these people are today, and they're taking these casts off of these people. And then they pour that cast full of plaster. And so you can go in there and you can see what this fella looked like when he died. You can also see what the expression on his face. It's very vivid. It really shook me up to see this. But knowing they've hollowed out his whole house, and he had a wife, and probably a mother or mother-in-law, and 2 little children from a blast like that. Now, if you had a 12-inch or 10-inch CO2 pipeline break, you're going to have the same thing, only the people will be did, right there.
And has Summit provided you any of their plume or rupture analysis or hazard distances at all?
No, they haven't, and I would like to see them. I would like to see the plume thing. You know, this is Navigator is at Hartley, and we're talking about the Summit. Well, at Navigator, I did see one map where they are going to put a pipeline here, one here, and one here, and one here. It's just like a big cat and mouse thing. Anyway, that's what the plan was that I saw around Hartley. And I lived in Hartley for years. I still farm Hartley, just north of Hartley I farm. It scares me. They got a schoolhouse down here. They got church down here. And they're just all downhill from these pipelines that they intend to put in around Hartley. It makes me sick of them planning like that.
Thank you, sir. I don't have anything further.
Board Member Burns? Okay. With no more questions, Mr. Mett, we appreciate it. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me talk.
Of course. All right. Our final non-intervening landowner is virtual. You can leave it. Chuck will take care. Oh,